On today's installation video, we'll be showing you how to install a race chip on the brand new Porsche 3-liter V6. Before installing the race chip, please wait until your engine is cool enough to work on. Put your parking brake or emergency brake on. If your vehicle is equipped with an alarm system, please disable it. Pop the hood, roll up the windows, close the doors, and press the lock button on your key fob and move that key fob 30 feet away. You're gonna wait about 10 minutes after for all the electricity to clear from underneath the hood. First step on the installation is to remove our plastic engine cover. To do so, there's gonna be two metal locking tabs on either side. We're gonna reach in with our finger, pull down and away. You'll see the locking tab right there. And there'll be another one matching the same thing on the other side. And just pulling away towards the outside of the car. Then we can gently lift up and remove the plastic engine cover. For this application, our A connection is going to go to our turbo boost pressure sensor, which can be located underneath this panel. And our B is going to go to our manifold pressure sensor, which is right here on the driver's side on the motor. Now to remove this plastic panel, there's going to be a few green locking tabs along the outside, as well as two white locking tabs on the inside. We're going to use a body removal tool. You can pick this up at a local auto store, or you can use a small flathead screwdriver. You want to be very gentle and let the tool do all the work. We don't want to pry, we don't want to break any of these plastic locking tabs. So again, just gently work our way around on the outside, then we'll go towards the inside and get these white locking tabs as well. Again, letting the tool do all the work. And then we can remove that. See the locking tabs here. Now we're going to take our A connection and fish it along the turbo inlet pipe to get the connections over towards our OEM sensor plugs. Being very gentle, we don't want to pull the wires from the back side of the plug at all. So we got them through like that. Our OEM sensor plug is going to have a gray locking tab. We're going to pull back on that first, and then we're going to push down to unplug the OEM sensor. So I'm going to reach my hand down in there. Go ahead and do that. Pulling back on the locking tab and pressing down, and then gently pulling back. You can see the OEM sensor plug right there. And we'll take the female end of the RaceChip wiring harness. Now the flat side of the RaceChip female end is going to plug into the locking tab side of the OEM sensor. Plug that in. Press it until it locks, and then lock it in place with the gray locking tab. And then we'll take the RaceChip male in and plug it directly into that OEM sensor, again locking it in place with the gray locking tab. Next up is our B connection going to our manifold pressure sensor, which is going to be right here on the driver's side of the motor. So we're going to go ahead and pull up on the gray locking tab, and then push down and pull away to unplug the OEM sensor plug. Take the female end of the RaceChip wiring harness, plug that in, and make sure it clicks and locks with the gray locking tab. And take the male end of the RaceChip wiring harness and plug that directly into the OEM sensor. With our wiring connections securely made, the next step is to install the actual RaceChip itself. So the first thing we're going to do is install our 4 mounting tabs. The really nice thing about these mounting tabs is you can actually use the longer supplied zip ties to mount vertically or horizontally. And if you ever need to remove the RaceChip for any warranty or service work, instead of having to cut the zip ties, instead you can press down on the 4 locking tabs on the 4 corners to remove the RaceChip but leave the locking tabs and zip ties in place. Now we're ready to install the RaceChip. So to do so, we're going to pull on our FCI plug and unplug the deactivation plug. Now we want to hang on to the deactivation plug. Do not throw this away. If you ever need to revert the car back to stock for any reason, you'll want to put the deactivation plug in place of the RaceChip. We suggest putting that in your glove box or maybe your center console. With the deactivation plug out of the way, we're going to go ahead and install our RaceChip and lock it in place with our FCI plug. It's really important the first time we install the unit, if you have the GTS, you have no LEDs light up, or if you have the RS or S, you want no green LED illuminating. We don't want any power going to the unit the very first time we install the device. Using 2 longer of the supplied zip ties, we're going to go ahead and mount the RaceChip in place. When mounting the RaceChip, we want to stay away from any hot and moving parts, and we also want to put it in a place that's difficult for moisture to get to. So for this application, we found right next to the ECU to be an excellent spot. Next up is to zip tie the wiring harness away from any hot or moving parts. If we're going to zip tie to any electrical or fluid lines like we are here, we don't want to zip tie too tight to pinch off the electrical lines or fluid. And one of our final steps here is to trim the excess ends off the zip ties to give everything a nice OEM look. Now we're going to reinstall the side panel. First thing we'll do is get our locking tabs up at the front aligned, and then slowly work our way back, starting with the outside and then working back to the inside. And last but certainly not least is to reinstall our plastic engine cover. Now we're going to do the opposite of what we did to install it. We're going to pull our locking tabs all the way down and out and then just push them directly back on and lock them in place. So we got rubber grommet snapped, and we'll just push our locking tabs directly on until they snap.
Start in the default setting of the RaceChip for the first time you test drive the car. If everything works great, you can then move the RaceChip to the next level up. Be aware that the car needs some time to adapt before releasing the full performance upgrade. Now, get out, drive, and enjoy your RaceChip.